A Georgia drug kingpin. Authorities say he had ties to the Mexican cartel. An investigation spanning multiple counties. Nearly 87 pounds of cocaine, hundreds of thousands of dollars in cash. Operation Clean Sweep. The headlines were everywhere: television, newspapers, social media. The story sounded finished. The public had already made up its mind. But here's the question: what happens after the headlines disappear? Because eventually the cameras leave, the microphones are packed away, the news vans drive off, and what's left is the court record. A drug kingpin, a Mexican cartel, 87 pounds of cocaine, the story most people know. But that's not the story we're investigating. Because at New Media, we don't investigate headlines, we investigate paperwork, the indictments, the motions, the transcripts, court records, the evidence logs, the dockets, and sometimes when you stop reading the headlines and start reading the court file, you begin asking completely different questions. So let's open the docket, put it on the scale, and let you decide. March 4th, 2020, law enforcement agencies across Middle Georgia announced what they call Operation Clean Sweep. According to investigators, authorities seized approximately 39 keys of cocaine, nearly 87 pounds. Investigators also reportedly recovered approximately $284,600 in cash from a hidden compartment inside a tractor trailer stopped in Baldwin County. Authorities arrest Dexter Lee Williams, Curtis Eugene Thorpe, and Francisco Daniel Costilla during the operation. And as investigators continues, prosecutors would allege a criminal enterprise involving more than $15 million in real estate and other assets. To the public, it looked like one investigation, one operation, one case. And months later, the Houston County Grand Jury returns indictment number 2020 C-55430A. Multiple defendants, 3 RICO counts, 95 predicated acts, and when you read the indictment, the March 4th events are woven throughout it. The cocaine, the cash, the phone calls, the meetings, the financial transactions. On paper, everything appears connected. Then fast forward, October 4th, 2021 arrives. Trial is only weeks away. Judge G.E. Bo Adams asks the states about the reports of a new indictment. The prosecutor confirms one is coming. The judge asks, is it essentially the same case? The prosecutor answers, yes, except certain predicated acts will be removed. The courts identified them predicated acts 85 through 95. When I compared those predicated acts to the original indictment, they all trace back to one date, March 4th, 2020. The same day, investigators announced they had seized nearly 87 pounds of cocaine, the same operation where investigators reported recovering approximately $284,600 in cash. Then the prosecutors explained why. According to the transcript, after discussion with investigator Matthew Moulton and the U.S. Attorney's Office, the federal government would not be prosecuting those March 4th allegations. Instead, the prosecutor tells the court those allegations could be handled in Bibb County as trafficking. And that's where I stopped reading and started asking questions, because according to the public record available, Dexter Williams had previously served federal prison sentences under federal drug convictions. And according to the state's own allegation, this wasn't a routine drug case. The headline describes alleged ties to Mexican cartel. The indictment alleged a criminal enterprise involving more than $15 million in assets. Investigators announced the seizure of nearly 87 pounds of cocaine. So I wanted to understand the decision, not because I already knew the answer, but because the transcript raised that question. Why wasn't the federal government prosecuting the March 4th allegations? And if those allegations weren't going to federal court, why did the prosecutor tell the court they could be handled in Bibb County as trafficking? So we filed an open records request. The records we received from Bibb County showed the Bibb County case had already been dismissed on April 8th, 2020, about a month after the March 4th arrest. We also obtained a letter from the Bibb County Sheriff himself stating that Houston County was the lead agency. Now another question appeared. If the federal government wasn't prosecuting those allegations and Bibb County had already dismissed this case, then where were the March 4th allegations ultimately handled? And that led us to another county, because on that same March 4th operation, investigators reported recovering approximately $284,600 in cash in Baldwin County from Francisco Castilla. So New Media filed another open records request with the Baldwin County Sheriff's Office. We requested arrest reports, the evidence records, the property records, the chain of custody, and any record showing what ultimately happened to that seized currency. So that's where this chapter ends. The open records request has been filed, and now we're waiting to see what those records reveal. And something that I find extremely strange is Dexter being a two-time loser in the federal system, and yet the federal government declined to prosecute this case, even with allegations tied to the Mexican cartel. So naturally, I want to understand why the federal government wouldn't. Maybe there's an explanation. Maybe the records will eventually provide one. Until then, it's simply a question the transcript leaves unanswered. In the next chapter, we'll examine what happened after the October 4th hearing. We'll break down the superseding indictment, follow the path to co-defendants, compare the case numbers and court records, and continue following the documents wherever they lead. This is Lamar King Sr., investigative analyst, New Media, where the truth will never be silenced. Be great today. Peace.